Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Awaken the World Quick Talk. We have a very special announcement today and a great little discussion on suffering. Today, of course, Sunday, April 28th, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, here we are again. And we have a very special announcement today and a little discussion on suffering. So for those of you who are part of our Facebook group and page and follow us, we live here in the small town of Armstrong in British Columbia, Canada. And Kelly and I have, wow, I tell you, last week, a friend of ours who owns what's known as the Health Hut here. It's a fantastic little place. You get your essential oils, your vitamins, your tinctures, your herbs and teas, all fresh, dried. And she has burnt herself out over the last 4.5 years running the place by herself. And she's had some issues, some family issues to deal with. And she's just a fantastic, loving, kind, caring person. And we've known her quite well. And she came to us and she mentioned it to us that she was going to close the place down, or if we or someone we knew would be interested in purchasing. And it just happened too easily. And as of yesterday, we are the proud new proprietors of the Health Hut, and we'll be taking over effective June 1st. It's going to be a busy month of May. And we're taking over this new little business, and it's something Kelly's always wanted to do, and we're both excited and scared all at the same time. And I said to Kelly, that's where you want to be. You know, and this ties right into our discussion on suffering, okay? So here we go. Let's just kind of meld this whole thing together. So when you suffer, what happens is that, and now we're not talking about pain, and let's be perfectly clear, okay? Pain is another discussion, and there's a lot of things you can do about pain, and we've done a few great pain videos that people have found very helpful, and we're going to do another one in the next couple of weeks. But I want to talk today about suffering, and what suffering really is the egoic pushing up against life, pushing up against what is. And we do this in many, many ways. And one of the greatest ways we do it is through our idea of comfort and safety. The ego always wants to feel padded from life. Like there's a good barrier to keep those things that ego is afraid of, being destitute, losing everything, living on the street, struggling. All of these things the ego is afraid of. So it tries to pad itself and get really comfortable and safe feeling. But of course, as we all know, life is about change. As a matter of fact, change and life are fairly synonymous. We are never meant to sit in that padded little chamber. As a matter of fact, the minute you sit down in that padded little chamber and isolate yourself from existence, you have truly died, even though you're still alive. Life is about change, risk, growth, expansion, joy, love, happiness, sadness, defeat, failure. All of these words. And we say this is what life's about. When we push up against anything, we're going to experience suffering. And the greatest form of this suffering, of course, is the idea that this should not be. Or that this should be, but it's not the way that we want it to be. Or that the timetable isn't happening. And you know, I said to Kelly years and years ago, I said, honey, look at our relationship. Everything just happened so easily. There was no pushing. There was no struggle. There was no, bunch of issues to work through. It all just kind of happened. This is happening the same way again now with this location and what we're going to do there. And therefore, I know that this is life showing us the direction. And as we've talked about before, in the midst of our suffering, what we're doing is we're pushing up against things so closely that this is our vision. We're only seeing what we're pushing up against. We're not seeing the gentle flow of the current of life. We're trying to paddle against it for all our might. We're trying to turn our boat around or get over to that little island where we think our happiness is. It's not there. It's right here, right now, in this present moment, as you sit in your boat, letting life guide you down the stream. So what do we do about suffering? Well, we have to talk about when we meet others who are suffering. We need to understand that the vast majority of the human species is suffering because they're vastly unaware that they are not that voice in their head, and that voice doesn't speak the truth all the time. That its view of life is based on environment, upbringing, all these other programmed conceptions. So when we meet other people who are clearly suffering, we can offer them a path out of their suffering. And it begins with acceptance of what is. It begins with understanding that because it's here right now, because it's already manifest, because it's already physical, because it's already occurring to me, I must accept it. And in that acceptance, you drop resistance to it. And your mind instantly expands to enfold it. And you will be able to see with a deeper vision the way through. Because the signposts are always provided. There is never a thicket of thorns placed before us without a rabbit trail clearly marked. But oftentimes we're too busy looking at the thorns that we don't see the small silent sign sitting there waiting for us. So we choose to rush through the thorns, trying to get by. And we end up suffering for it. Control and suffering are closely related, and again, these form kissing cousins, okay? And here's the deal. The only control you ever have is that which is within you. Anything outside your body's energetic field is simply not in your control, and in truth, it never is, never was, and never will be. That means you can let go of a whole bunch of potential sources of suffering. As a matter of fact, a lot of the suffering we experience has to do with what other people are doing, and the fact that we want to change that in some way. There is no need for that. You never had control over it. What is the logic in suffering over what you cannot control? Well, of course, there's no logic to it. It's a type of insanity. It is the insanity of the egoic mind. Much love to you today. That's all we have. Keep it really nice and short today. Happy Sunday to you. And we look forward to expanding our video line to start including videos on healthy products for mind, body, and spirit, not to sell you from our store. If you live in Armstrong and you want to come down, that's fantastic. But to inform you and help enrich your life. Why? Because we love you. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday, and namaste.